Today, we're going to look at some of the most disgusting, crooked, pathetic cops that America has to offer. Doing things all the way from, trafficking drugs for the Mexican drug cartel. And doing things like brazenly shooting handcuffed people in the back of their police squad cars.
Former Deputy Timothy Verdon. He shot Dylan Tompkins Holmes while he was handcuffed in the back of this cruiser last month.
Just because the person mouthed off to them, yeah, whip out a gun, pow, just because they don't like what you're saying. We're gonna see all that and a whole lot more in this video today. And at the end, it's gonna make your mind explode. So make sure you watch to the end because it is insane. But let's get right into it.
That deputy has bonded out of jail. He's now facing attempted manslaughter charges and his badge and gun taken away.
ABC Action News reporter Clifton French joins us live right now with what the sheriff has to say about how all of this unfolded. Clifton?
Yeah, the sheriff saying his deputy was just flat out lying. He says that this statement from another deputy and this dash cam video shows the entire truth. The recording of these gunshots is just a piece of the evidence piled up against now former Deputy Timothy Verdon. He shot Dylan Tompkins Holmes while he was handcuffed in the back of this cruiser last month, claiming Tompkins Holmes managed to grab his gun. The video and audio showing a completely different scenario.
Dylan Tompkins Holmes was being mouthy. That's it.
You heard it from the sheriff, ladies and gentlemen. That's the elected sheriff, the top cop, telling you what his own deputy did. His deputy shot somebody handcuffed in the back of a police cruiser because the person mouthed off or the deputy didn't like what he said. So you can say something the deputy don't like, be handcuffed in the back of the police car. He gonna open the door, whip out that gun, and shoot you and try and kill you. And we hear about retaliation from the police a lot of the times, but this one kind of takes the cake. But maybe this happens more often than we think. It just so happened that this deputy got caught on his own body cam.
Sheriff Bob Galtieri walked through the entire investigation, showing pictures of the scene and a gun holster, proving his story was a lie.
Didn't happen.
All while being 3.5 times the legal blood alcohol limit. On top of that, another deputy was on the scene who says Tompkins Holmes never resisted. He turned away for only 2 seconds when the shots were fired. Not enough time for a struggle, which the audio didn't capture anyway.
This is all inconsistent with Deputy Verdon's version of the events.
And the sheriff also said today, even if Verdon's story was true, it still did not justify him shooting an unarmed man who was in handcuffs. As for the deputy, like you said, he turned himself in earlier today. He has bonded out of jail. The sheriff telling us just a couple of hours ago that deputy has been fired.
But don't get your hopes up, ladies and gentlemen, like justice is going to be served in this situation. This deputy ended up going to jail, going to trial, getting found guilty, and guess what he was sentenced to? He was sentenced to 3 years probation, no jail time, nothing, just probation after trying to kill somebody. What do you think? You live in a free and fair country where the public officials are held to the same standard as you when you commit a crime? What do you think this is? A comedy show? So that's the ending to that one. Moving on to the next situation, we have a deputy who decides to try and kill an elderly woman, an 80-year-old woman, after he was manipulating her and emptying out her bank account, stealing tens and thousands of hundreds of thousands of dollars from this woman. And then he devised a plot when she caught on to kill her. And he actually tried to do it and almost killed her, but thankfully she woke up. It's a whole disastrous drama mess. Let's get right into it.
This is ABC Action News.
It would be nice to have somebody who wore this uniform for 18 years to be forthright and give us the truth, but he's a criminal.
From trusted deputy to attempted murder suspect, the intricate scheme this lawman is accused of hatching against a 79-year-old woman and his history of breaking the rules that we've uncovered. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jameson Dewey.
And I'm Wendy Ryan. Thanks for joining us. Tonight, the Sarasota County Sheriff calling one of his own a disgrace. A nearly 20-year veteran of the Sheriff's Office now in jail for attempted murder and exploiting a 79-year-old woman.
Carson Chambers is live outside the Sarasota County Jail with the way the sheriff says the deputy planned to make the murder look like a suicide. Carson?
Right. The sheriff says that Frankie Bybee was an on-duty deputy at the time, and he was called out to this woman's home back in October to help her. Then the sheriff says he took advantage of her financially and even tried to kill her.
Oh my gosh.
Her story had neighbors in disbelief.
She said just basically that the man tried to kill her, and that was it. And I said, well, I really couldn't believe it.
A 79-year-old Sarasota woman taken advantage of, almost murdered, according to the sheriff, by a veteran deputy.
She's been in very bad health in the last couple of years.
Sarasota Sheriff Tom Knight says Frankie Bybee was a deputy, a detective for 18 years. Tonight, he's being held on almost $2 million bond for trying to kill Marcia Soul inside her own home.
Bybee mounted the victim and, while holding her down, forced prescription medication into her mouth. The victim lost consciousness, and when she awoke, she summoned help. It was determined that her home was filled with carbon monoxide after the internal door to her garage was left open and her car was left running.
He deserves the death penalty to this. I don't care that the woman survived. That's just as bad as if he would have killed somebody. Doing that to an elderly woman who walks with a walker, 79 years old, helpless. You get on top of her, you shove pills in her mouth to try to make her overdose. Then you leave her garage door open with the car running so you can make carbon monoxide go inside the house and kill her from the fumes. By the grace of God, this woman survived and was able to call, get help, and get your ass arrested. But can you imagine if he got away with it? Well, we couldn't imagine because we wouldn't have even heard about the story. How many times did deputies do this? You know, and I don't want to hear this, oh, it's just one bad apple, da-da-da-da-da-da. It's the dude worked as a sheriff for 18 years. There's this mental dichotomy that sociopaths have where they become police officers because they were picked on or they want to make a grievance out on other people, where you have some of the most evilest people who decide to become police officers. You got to think about it. There's evil, disgusting, nasty people out here, and if they want to commit harm and they want to do it in a malicious, disgusting, disturbing way, oh, why don't I become a police officer? Happens all the time. It happens with people that abuse children. They want to, oh, how can I access children? I'll be a priest at the church. I'll work at a school. There's a video on my channel of a judge who was abusing children who sought to become a juvenile children's court judge before he was caught. Some of the sickest people. This guy is deplorable, horrific. His mother should have swallowed him. This guy is a waste of breathable air. Worst of the worst. Well, I gotta stop saying worst of the worst when it comes to talking about law enforcement in this country. Yeah, there's some good ones, but you know, even this particular instance of what he's doing, it's just worst of a lot of the same is what it's starting to look like.
Bybee stared a hole in the carpet when he came before a judge this afternoon.
He has substantial ties to the community, his family, his wife, his children. He has a home.
Sheriff Knight says Bybee befriended the elderly woman back in October when called to her house on duty. That he started forging checks in her name to himself and his 3 kids, more than $65,000 worth. Even got rid of her dog in a Craigslist ad when she was hospitalized.
Even got rid of her dog in a Craigslist ad when the woman was in the hospital. The woman's sick in the hospital. He comes over there. Oh, we don't want this dog around. We're going to get rid of this dog. We're going to put it on Craigslist. You got to be careful out here, ladies and gentlemen. There's people walking amongst us with no soul, with nothing. It's just complete cold ice. You know, imagine what the mental state would have to be to do something like this. You're a police officer. You've been working as a police officer for almost 2 decades. There's this elderly woman that came out that called you for service and for help, and then you decide that she's prey. You're gonna victimize her. You're gonna take advantage of her. You're gonna come up with these plots. It was bad enough she's so out of it and she doesn't have any family to pay attention, so I'm just gonna start stealing money out of her bank accounts. Bad enough. The woman, she's in the hospital right now. She's sick. Let me get rid of her dog. I don't even want this dog anymore. Bad enough. But then you go the step to try to kill the woman, ladies and gentlemen. Be careful out here. Be safe out here.
He's a criminal, and he's acting like a criminal. And so thus he gets arrested and treated like a criminal.
Bybee was placed on administrative leave on January 9th after Soul filed a harassment complaint against him. But the sheriff says he returned to her home days later and tried to fake her suicide. And Bybee has been the subject of 5 internal investigative complaints. He was actually reprimanded, and one of them for lying to his superiors. And the sheriff says he will now be fired.
Oh, the sheriff said, he got all these reports, but finally we're firing him. You waited till he, tried to kill somebody to fire him. You get all these credible reports and lying to superiors right then and there. If your deputy is lying to the superiors at the sheriff's office, you can't trust them. You can't be a deputy. How do you have a deputy that you can't trust? I definitely put a lot of the blame on the sheriff for this particular instance. Now, let's see if justice will be served. We already think that, a lot of times elected officials, when they get found to commit crimes and they get convicted, that their sentences are weak. Their sentences are not the same as me or you. If me or you did this, this is a life sentence. So let's see. Let's hold out a little bit of hope, and we're going to see what the sentence is. Maybe the rule of law and the rule of justice will actually hold up here. Let's see.
Former Sarasota County Deputy Frank Bybee now heading to prison for defrauding an elderly woman he was supposed to be helping. Our Jake Peterson has the very latest from his sentencing.
The judge sentencing Bybee to 15 years in prison, telling Bybee that he will always be remembered as a bad cop in Sarasota County.
Wait. So he did all that. He victimized the elderly woman as a police officer, as a higher standard, as a police officer. He's been a police officer for 18 years, who should know better than that. So he gets on a call to a 80-year-old elderly woman. Then he sees her and decides he's going to take advantage of her. Starts emptying her bank account out. When the woman's sick and in the hospital, he sells her dog. Then he tries to kill the woman in an extremely heinous way, a premeditated way. It's not he got upset in the heat of the passion, like, she threw a glass vase and it cut him up, or, something like, not like a heat of rage. It's like premeditated. I'm finna get pills, get on this woman, shove it in her mouth, and he has all this time to stop doing what he's doing and think, like, maybe I should stop doing this. This is not good. He keeps doing it. And then on top of it, after he shoves all these pills in her mouth, the woman's all incapacitated. He goes a step further. He gets the car, closes the garage, starts the car so the carbon monoxide can fill, and try to double kill this woman and make sure that she's dead. Premeditated, did all this stuff. It's like a double premeditated type of killing. And he gets 15 years, ladies and gentlemen. American justice system for you. Two-tier justice system. If you're an official, if you're a cop, if you're a sheriff, if you're a judge, a lawmaker, we see little things where judges and police get the speed and we can't speed, or if there's a congressman getting transported by the police from one place to the other, they ignore all traffic law. We see all that, the little law breaking that they get. But it even goes to the courtroom with sentences, ladies and gentlemen, as you can clearly see here. But that's the end of that story. No justice. That's disgusting. Horrific judge. Shame on all the parties involved for making that disgrace happen. That person, that's a person get 15 years. He can get out in like 5 or 6 years and then be out in the community. How is that safe? This person don't need to be out here. Imagine this was my neighbor or your neighbor. Would you feel safe knowing that this man did this and he's your neighbor? You got kids around, etc., etc. Disgrace. Pathetic. But that's your judges that you guys elected down there in Sarasota, Florida. You need to be on top of your judges. But moving on, we have a chief of police who also is in Florida, who is, I would say, actually worse. Because what this chief of police did is that one of his buddies got charged with sexually assaulting children. And the chief of police decides to try and lie and cover for his buddy and try to perform a cover-up for this abuse against children. But thankfully, this blew up in the chief of police's face. It got exposed, and the chief of police is going to prison. Check this out.
Breaking right now at 4, the former Windermere police chief is found guilty of perjury in connection with a child sex abuse investigation.
Yeah, Daniel Saylor was sentenced to 8 years behind bars after he was convicted of lying under oath during his friend's trial. That friend was later convicted of raping 2 young girls. WESH 2's Michelle Meredith was in court when that verdict was handed down, and Michelle, it came down quickly.
Well, the jury took barely an hour to reach their verdict, and from what we could tell, that included their lunch break.
jury find the defendant guilty as charged in the information.
Daniel Saylor dropped his head when he heard the guilty verdict. It was role reversal. Windermere's former chief of police was the man being fingerprinted and handcuffed. Sentencing came next. Saylor begged for mercy. His voice trembled.
Don't really know what to say to you. I still believe what I said was the truth. I'm a single father with a daughter. I've served my country in the state of Florida for many years, and I find myself in this position now. I don't know what to say to your honors. Please have mercy on me.
But the judge gave him 8 years in prison as he left the courtroom, telling his mom and dad he loved them. It marked the end of his brief trial, a trial in which Saylor was accused of lying on the stand during the child rape trial of Scott Bush last year. Bush and Saylor were friends. During the rape trial, Saylor took the stand, told the jury not one but two outside agencies, the Orange County Sheriff's Office and the State Attorney's Office, investigated the rape allegations. Employees for both agencies took the stand, said they did not investigate, that it was Windermere's case. Saylor's family left with nothing to say, but attorneys on both sides spoke.
As I told the court, every day in this courtroom we depend on people telling the truth. And if you don't tell the truth, there has to be ramifications for that.
Cases are always tough.
Are you disappointed?
Of course I'm disappointed.
Child rapist defendant attorney. I don't have no respect for attorneys who take these kinds of cases. Some people literally with these types of cases will be in the comment section, well, everybody deserves a good, representation. They can, and y'all could view the justice system like that. Okay, but I still can talk shit on the guy because you're not thinking of the intricacies of how this works. These lawyers are sitting thinking up lies or way to slander the law and the way to spin stuff. And they sit and write these long legal documents, spinning the law, trying to say why, for instance, this child is, this isn't technically this. They file the most, if you read the filings, they file the most outrageous defenses that you would have your blood boil. But a lot of these people that leave comments like that wanting to defend these type of people, for one, they should get their hard drives checked. And for two, they're not actually pulling these documents and reading them, which I have, and they'll make your head spin. This judge, shout out to this judge. She gave an 8-year sentence to this sheriff. Good job on her. That's about fair for lying in there. That's a big heavy sentence for that lie. Perjury, the max is 10. He didn't per se take and was involved with do anything to these kids that we know of. It's very concerning that you would go in there and try to lie for your friend, who your friend is doing this. There's a lot of other questions that will come up around, maybe things that can't be proven, but it's very suspicious. Sometimes, what do they say? Birds of a feather flock together. How's this your buddy? It's like, and so shout out to this judge. This is a good judge. Y'all, Windermere, I know where Windermere is. A nice community, great community. Apparently, y'all got great judges too. So apparently that's a very exceptional place to live.
Tonight, a former La Jolla police chief faces life in jail for playing a part in a drug trafficking, or at least playing a part of drug trafficking here in the Valley. Giovanni Hernandez was arrested Saturday and is in U.S. Marshals custody.
Channel 5's Carolina Cruz was in court today for Hernandez's initial appearance in court. She breaks down the events leading to Hernandez's arrest. Carolina.
Giovanni Hernandez spoke to Channel 5 when he was on the other side of the law. He detailed what it was like combating drug activity right here in this area. In a turn of events, today he stood before a judge facing drug charges. We were there.
We're focusing on it, we're working on it.
As Giovanni Hernandez became La Jolla police chief, he promised to fight crime, specifically drug activity.
We got to make sure that we build a safer community. We need to make sure that we battle drug trafficking and avoid, actually prevent from those drugs ending up in our school districts and our neighbors' backyard.
Bro was watching the movie Scarface a little bit too much. Bro thinks he's bigger than the program. What do you think you are? You think you're the CIA, buddy? Only people be trafficking drugs in the United States as a part of the government is going to be the CIA. Not some little small, local, town cop. Buddy, what do you think this is? Right, ladies and gentlemen, this is, he's your average American politician right here with this logic. Man, I bet it was probably a part of the plan. He's like, when I become the chief of police, my cousins or my uncles, and I'm speculating here, my cousins or my uncles, they work with the Mexican cartels, and I made the connection here, and we can get safe passage. I can get millions and millions of dollars. We can get all this money and be living pretty. We be living like, living like Scarface, living La Vida Loca, baby. But the plan ain't work out.
He went from chasing criminals.
Our information says that it's different cartels operate in this area, with the assistance of local gang members,
to aiding them. A months-long investigation captured in 3 pages. Federal documents detail Hernandez's criminal activity. May 30th, Hernandez met with a confidential informant to plot out their plan. He disclosed being close friends with Juan Manuel Loza Salinas, known as El Toro, boss of the Gulf Cartel in Reynosa. The former police chief said he needed money for his campaign for Hidalgo County Constable. The informant said they transported vehicles with drugs northbound and needed help running records on the cars, a job Hernandez said would cost $1,000 or more. To top it off, Hernandez told the informant cartel leaders knew him and he traveled to Reynosa, no problem at all, an act he previously decried.
Sometimes they themselves voice it out to us. Hey, I belong to MS-13, I'm working for the cartel, I'm operating for cartels in your area. They say it is not a secret, and they're not keeping it secret anymore. They voice it out to us, and that's a big concern.
June 2017 pinpoints transactions between Hernandez and the informant for license plate records. On July 11th, the informant said they would drive a vehicle from a warehouse in Progreso to load it with, quote, items, then drive to FAR, a $10,000 job if successfully completed. Hernandez would get a cut of that money if he helped. He agreed, telling the informant not to disclose what was in the vehicle. The final transaction happened a month ago on July 15th. Homeland Security Investigations Special Agents loaded 10 bricks of white powdery substance weighing nearly 10 kilos into a vehicle. Only one of those bricks contained cocaine hydrochloride. Hernandez helped get the loaded vehicle through Progreso and was paid $5,000 for his role in the transaction.
Deeply disturbing. And I want you to imagine something that you may not think about when you hear this story at the beginning, is that yes, this guy is selling drugs. He's a handsome guy, look well spoken. Some of you may not be able to, at face value, quantify just how dangerous what he's doing is. We're talking about the cartels here. They mass murder, they kill people. The crime spills over into the United States. There's cartel killings in the US and gangs related killings directly with cartel, influence and commandment in the United States. And what do you think would happen in this scenario if somebody messed with those drugs, or if the cartel killed somebody in his jurisdiction? This sheriff is a part of a very dangerous criminal organization. He himself maybe would be able to order people to get killed, or maybe there's unsolved homicides, unsolved murders in that jurisdiction that the top cop has direct involvement with or influence with. When somebody in law enforcement like that has their hands entangled in an organization like that, it's no telling what else happened. This may just be the tip of the iceberg. But for now, that's all we got on this guy. This guy is going to prison, and where he belongs, the epitome of the opposite of public service and keeping the community safe. But I digress with that piece of crap. Now moving on to the next video.
The officer put a repo man in a chokehold, a very long chokehold, to keep him from repossessing his SUV. Then when other cops arrived, he tried to run.
It was all caught on video, and tonight we've learned why he was already under investigation before that wild arrest. News 13's Alex Goldsmith has the story.
Jessica, Dick, before and after his arrest, you hear State Police Officer Charles Vernier telling Los Lunas cops how to do their jobs. He may not be doing his for much longer.
I'm going to give you one more second to let him go and get back before you get tased.
How did a state cop find himself on the wrong end of a taser? It all started with a repo gone wrong outside a Los Lunas apartment complex.
Charles, let him go, Charles! Charles, let him go!
The man in the chokehold was trying to repossess state cop Charles Vernier's Nissan Xterra. The 6'5" Vernier claims the repo man shoved him. The repo man says he didn't, but cell video from the man's wife is indisputable.
Charles, let him go!
You're not taking my vehicle today.
The chokehold lasts at least 8 minutes and gets pretty strong at points.
Yes, I'm restraining you because you assaulted me. And I am going to continue
And I'm a repossessor.
But when Los Lunas police show up, it's Vernier who's in trouble.
Step around the vehicle now. Step around the vehicle now. Turn around. Turn around. Turn around. Turn around.
The state cop finally starts to listen, and then...
Put your hands on your head. Yes, you are. Turn around.
He bolts before tripping over his own feet.
The way he just tried to run right there tells you everything you need to know. That guy didn't assault him. He just put that guy in a chokehold because he was repossessing his car, because this officer doesn't want to pay his bills and thinks he's entitled to not pay his bills and doesn't have to adhere to the rule of law. You can see it just the clear defiance. He's not listening to the deputies. They pull out a taser. He literally tells them to arrest him. You need to arrest him now. And then he tells them, yo, when they tell him to put his hands behind his back, I'm not getting handcuffed today. It's like, who do you think you are? Like, just pure, you can tell this is somebody who became a cop for the wrong reasons. There's something mentally wrong with this dude.
How does Officer Vernier describe it?
I was walking away from you and you used an excessive amount of force. You were walking away. I was walking.
Vernier was arrested for aggravated battery and interfering with police. He was already on paid suspension. Sources tell News 13 state police had been investigating to see if Officer Vernier is mentally competent to be an officer. It didn't stop him from trying to pull rank.
Oh, he already was under investigation to see if he had it all mentally competent there to be able to be a police officer. Well, call me crazy, because I think we can go ahead and close that case and we can just make a finding now that he is completely incompetent and incapable of having the wherewithal to be a police officer. So that's it. Case closed. Next. Never let this guy in a position of power ever. He doesn't need to be in charge of as a teacher over students. He don't even need to be a boss over somebody as a manager at McDonald's or anything. If this is your boss, this is where people like go crazy in their workplaces and you see stuff on the news when you work under somebody like this. This dude is an absolute nut. And I wonder what he did, what prompted the investigation into his mental acuity, because you know, cops usually never get in trouble or any kind of investigations like that. So it had to be something pretty crazy.
I'm a state police officer. He assaulted me first. I am not going to take this shit.
So what about Vernier's claim that the repo man shoved him first? Well, the cell phone video doesn't show that, and witnesses aren't backing up his story. That repo man wasn't arrested. Back to you.
Yeah, anybody with eyeballs can see what happened there. So what ultimately happened after that, the conclusion of that situation, the cop resigned and said he needed to focus on his mental health. You think? But mental health is serious, and I'm not making fun of mental health. You know, everybody's had mental health stuff. I've had mental health stuff going on. But there's no excuse for choking somebody out like that because you didn't repossess your car. I think a lot of times people say mental health when they're really just an asshole, because there's lots of people depressed and stuff, and you know they're not gonna choke people out because they don't pay their bills. It's like, what type of mental health is that? Like you don't. It makes no sense. What do you do? Every time you have to pay for something, you just attack the person. I never heard, that's a new mental health problem for me. I never heard of that one. But what is it called? Money-anitis? Anyway, moving on. Speaking of money, we have a sheriff out of Florida, the top cop, the top sheriff, who was a part of a $20 million gambling enterprise. You know, it's completely illegal, underground gambling enterprise, until investigators caught up to him and the whole operation came crumbling down like a house of cards. Check this out. It's so insane. All this stuff going on, ladies and gentlemen, all across the country. It's not one-offs. It's not this. When people say a few bad apples, it's like, come on.
Suit. Suspended Osceola County Sheriff Marcos Lopez faces a judge.
How do I start the bond process?
We have live team coverage on the new developments in his case.
Sheriff Marcos Lopez had little to say aside from asking for clarification about how to stop the bond process when he saw a judge for the very first time today. Channel 9 has been first to break the news yesterday about the racketeering charges the suspended sheriff is now facing. Good afternoon. I'm Darlene Jones.
I'm Martha Sagalski. State investigators say he allowed illegal gambling operations to run in exchange for campaign contributions in the county he was the sheriff of. 9 investigates Shannon Butler has been breaking every detail on this story. She broke the story yesterday. She has more information today on a business that federal authorities say brought in more than $21 million. She, of course, staying ahead of the curve, beating everyone in this story. Joining us live from the Florida Department of Law Enforcement in Orlando. And Shannon, we are waiting for that arrest affidavit right now.
Yeah, Martha, that affidavit, more than 200 pages. It's supposed to give us more of a roadmap about Marcos Lopez's alleged involvement in this criminal enterprise. But not only that, prosecutors are claiming that he actually hindered law enforcement efforts to bust these businesses. Now, yesterday, Lopez asked those federal agents when he was under arrest what this was all about. Well, today, he knows.
Marcos R. Lopez.
Marcos Lopez appeared virtually in court today for about 13 minutes, out of his green uniform and in an orange jumpsuit, stripped of not only his badge and his gun, but also his title. The suspended sheriff saying little, his concern when he would get out of jail.
How do I start the bond process?
That doesn't appear to be today, as the court wants to make sure the money he uses for bail isn't money prosecutors say he got illegally. And prosecutors claim he got a lot.
The weight of the evidence includes that the defendant obtained between, at the very least, $600,000 to $700,000 since 2020 from this illegal enterprise in cash payments.
That new information is just a piece of what is expected to be released in an affidavit. First, it says the effort started even before he became sheriff and continued long after. We know there are text messages showing his alleged involvement and his communication with those co-conspirators dating back to 2020. It will also show, they say, that he was scouting out locations to bring illegal businesses from Lake County to Osceola in 2021.
So crazy. Full-on criminal sheriff, all in sorts of criminal enterprises. And people like this, you know, they dip their toes in all sorts of different illicit businesses the majority of the time. It's not just one thing. He may have just gotten caught with this one particular instance because it's so hard to catch a sheriff. They're insulated. It's like judges, sheriffs, district attorneys. Their life is so insulated and they have so much privacy and they have so much protections and so much immunities and stuff. It's almost like, how do you catch them? The only time they're caught is with an informant, 99.9% of the time. And so people like that are dangerous. He's the sheriff and he's entertaining criminal enterprises. If you're willing to do this, you're willing to do stuff with full-on drug dealers. Wherever the money is what he'll do. They'll turn a blind eye or partake in the operation of prostitution rings. It's like they'll do whatever it takes for the money. These people are dangerous. They will kill you. Like, if you are messing with this type of money and messing with the criminal enterprise, and let's say people at the criminal enterprise kill you, they know the sheriff. The investigation gonna be botched. You're just gonna be an unsolved homicide, bro. That's it. That's it. You'll just be unsolved mystery. Crazy.
Now, Marcos Lopez does have connections to Puerto Rico. You have to look at his social media to even know that. Today, prosecutors said that they want him on a GPS monitor because of those ties there, which the judge did grant. Now, as for the Osceola County Sheriff's Office today, I briefly spoke with Sheriff Blackman today. He said it is business as usual right now until he tries to figure out what, if anything else, needs to be done. We are live in Orlando. Shannon Butler, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
We need to have an ankle monitor on the sheriff because he may flee to Puerto Rico and may not come back to court. Mr. Sheriff, if you're out there listening, if you're at home and you're on YouTube and this video pops up, you don't have to worry about fleeing because you're not going to get in no trouble. We see time and time again, these cops, these sheriffs, these judges, the higher ranking you are, the less strict and the less harsh the justice system is going to be on you when you're sentenced. You're going to get probation. The judge is going to have sympathy for you. You know, a lifelong officer used to work in the military, like they said. He worked in the military service. I'll just give him some probation. You know, he didn't kill anybody. So, which is what's going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. We don't see justice in these cases unless they do something extremely, extremely grotesque and egregious. And running financial illegal enterprises. If a dead body don't pop up somewhere in that whole situation, he ain't getting in no trouble. Hate to break it to you, but this next cop, he's a contender for the death penalty, I would say. This next cop is driving around Chicago. He's actually a border patrol cop. He is breaking into women's hotel rooms. He's using his credentials as a border patrol ICE cop to go into their rooms. He pulls his gun out, arm robs them, and rapes them, and is going around from woman to woman to woman to woman doing this. It's unbelievable. Check this out.
All right, NBC5 Investigates is taking a closer look at some disturbing details behind the indictment of a federal agent who was assigned to work at O'Hare Airport.
Now, authorities say he raped and robbed countless women at gunpoint after gaining access to their hotel rooms using his badge. Our investigative reporter Chuck Gowdy joining us in studio tonight with late details and also questions about why the suspect seems to have gotten away with this for years. Chuck?
Alice and Stefan, the feds tonight have under arrest one of their own, a Customs and Border Protection officer named Luis Uribe. U.S. prosecutors in Chicago tonight calling Uribe a serial rapist who they say was so proficient at using his CBP badge and gun to control Chinese sex workers that the women convened community meetings in an effort to convince the federal officer to stop. 44-year-old Uribe from far northwest suburban Pingree Grove was even photographed in a diner by one of the victims, according to federal law enforcement. According to this court filing obtained tonight by NBC5 Investigates, the defendant had committed prior rapes and robberies of sex workers. Members of that community already had defendant's photograph when the last two attacks occurred back in 2022. And authorities tonight reveal that there may be additional victims identified in the future.
Unbelievable, ain't it? I hope these videos that I'm doing make some of you people who may be naive and think police are holier than thou, that these videos change your opinion and you look at them for what they are. Don't, there's good cops, but there's a lot of bad cops, and just don't have blinders on or rose-colored glasses when looking at the police and just assuming they can't do no wrong. This is worse than what a criminal could do. A criminal couldn't possibly do this because they couldn't have the credentials and the power to even be able to do this. This guy literally is a federal agent going around at gunpoint, robbing women for their money and raping them for years. And the reason he's been able to get away with it is because he's a federal agent, and the system looks at them with rose-colored glasses like they can do no wrong. And who's going to believe these, women over this, federal agent? This woman has a criminal history and stuff. She has to be a liar, because they've been making the reports. You can see the women been making the reports for years. So these people reporting him, and he's just so brazen because he's not facing any accountability that he's just going around and just doing this, and he just don't care, and this is just what he's gonna do.
Uribe worked as a customs officer here at O'Hare Airport, carrying a badge and a gun, both of which he allegedly used to rape Chinese sex workers at hotels in Schaumburg and Naperville in 2022. Local police were notified back then, according to court filings, and even gathered hotel room evidence. Uribe wasn't arrested back then. Why hasn't been revealed.
This is a ticking bomb, and so you have to be aware of that during the investigation. Strike the balance between we get the perfect amount of evidence and we've got to get this guy out of his job so that he doesn't do this to more people.
Former Chicago Assistant U.S. Attorney Ron Safer tonight says there are questions about how this case was investigated and whether some victims were raped after authorities knew there was a sexual attacker in uniform and still with a badge and a gun.
Can you have consent at the barrel of a gun?
No, you cannot. The things that are alleged in this complaint are in the indictment are horrific. There is no consent for that. There's no excuse for that. It is a clear abuse of office, and he is a huge danger to the community. When you abuse your office, when you use your badge and use the color of law to engage in sex acts, there are going to be countless people who do not report that for fear of getting deported, of getting arrested, of all of that. And so the number of victims are countless.
The government tonight is attempting to have Officer Uribe held without bond as a dual Mexican-American citizen. They say he's likely to flee the U.S. A hearing on that set for Monday. We have asked Schaumburg and Naperville police why arrests weren't made nearly 4 years ago when numerous women apparently alleged they had been raped. So far, no responses.
And those of you who watch my channel, we all know with the context clues here of what happened. There's more people that were involved. It wasn't just higher ups in the federal government that were involved with this. Maybe not all the way up into the, the White House or anything like that, but, his upper chain of command. And they probably partaked in it too. He probably wasn't the only one that was going around with guns and raping them. Some of this stuff goes so deep. It could be he would have guns and have like 5 women, and it'd be like 3 officers and the officers over him doing all sorts of stuff at hotel rooms, and this stuff gets so messy, and a lot of times this stuff is just the tip of the iceberg. But that's the only explanation, is that his higher up in the chain of command was involved, and that's who would kill the local investigations. Because why did the local police not take this any step further? It doesn't make any sense, because the investigation was killed by somebody who has power, somebody who has influence. People like that can kill investigations. Judges, a lot of times when they're doing corruption, they can kill investigations. You see a lot of times when they do get in trouble, high-ranking people like judges, sheriffs, federal prosecutors, whatever, a lot of times they also get in trouble for perjury. Like we saw it earlier at the beginning of this video, right? Remember when the Orlando sheriff got sentenced to prison 9 years for lying because his friend was under investigation for sleeping with children. So the sheriff lied and tried to use the power of the sheriff department to kill the investigation into him. And then he even went on to lie in state investigations to try to cover for him, because he tried to kill the investigation. And that's what a lot of times we see when things don't add up. There's something wrong here. Why is all these reports? Why has this gone on for years? The women was reporting. This don't make any sense. Because there's more to the story, and it's not just this guy. And hopefully it does come out. And a lot of times it will come out, because he's looking at going to jail the rest of his life. So what they'll do is give him a plea deal where, we'll give you, instead of 50 years in prison, you get 10, but you got to tell us everything and everybody who has been involved with it, and you got to be willing to come in court, point them out, and testify against them. So sick, so sick, so sick, ladies and gentlemen. This is a wild one. I mean, it's not unbelievable, but there's just so much of this going on in the country with law enforcement. We got to be safe out here, ladies and gentlemen. But moving on to the next video.
First at 6, Bremerton police spoke publicly today about a detective they say was caught on camera potentially betraying the badge. And good evening, I'm Steve Rabel.
I'm Monique Minglavin, and Cairo 7 News South Sound reporter Kevin McCarty is live at the police department. And Kevin, the chief told you his department acted quickly once they were shown the evidence of a detective stealing.
I spoke with him here today at police headquarters in Bremerton. He says this happened at the end of an undercover drug investigation, and the detective involved in all of this, he says, had no idea. Cameras were recording his every move. Surveillance video released by the Bremerton Police Department shows Detective Jeffrey Inkelbarger allegedly stealing during a raid on a suspected drug operation in February 2019. Overhead video shows Inkelbarger inside a closet collecting cash evidence when he puts a large wad of the money in his back pocket. A camera mounted closer to the floor captured Inkelbarger from a lower angle.
I think it's sad. It's messed up.
You shouldn't be doing that.
No, definitely not.
Criminals with badges. It's a lot of them, ladies and gentlemen. But this type of incident right here, a raid on a house with a search warrant, I think this happens way more often than, we would be led to believe. When they go into somebody's house that are doing a search warrant and they go into their jewelry room with all their jewelry, or they go into a room where it has all the people cash and all the stuff, and they just in a room, no cameras, no nothing, and they in there by themselves. I think this happens a lot. I've heard of people who have stuff missing from their house. It's very common that people say, cops raided their house and stole stuff from them. But if there's no cameras, there's no way to prove it. Luckily this time, these people had 2 hidden cameras and caught his disgusting, lame, nasty, treasonous, cowardice ass. Such a betrayal of trust, man. You can't trust cops. Don't trust them.
Bremerton Police Chief James Burchett says the video was brought to the attention of his department in December by the defense attorney for the woman who was arrested and charged after that raid.
We've all seen the video now, and so you've seen the same thing I have, and it was apparently obvious that we needed to act immediately, and we did.
Burchett says Engelbarger was suspended from his job and quit January 25th, just before the department fired him.
Those are the games. Don't let this sheriff sit up here and stand up here and seem like he's, I'm a good sheriff and I do the right thing. You let the guy be on suspension. You saw the video of him stealing. What more did you need to know? We need to suspend him so we can continue an investigation. He's on video stuffing cash in his pockets during a search of a house. It's not his stuff. He's stealing. He's committing a crime. It's on 4K. Fire him now. Oh no, but we suspend him and he quit right before we could fire him. We don't need to hear the language of right before we could fire him. You didn't fire him. He quit on his own recognizance because you were too slow. That's what happened. And there are all sorts of when they quit, a lot of times they're still entitled to their pension. They can go work somewhere else because they technically weren't fired. It was a pending investigation. A lot of times when you're at a department and you quit, once you quit, the investigation is done. So the investigation doesn't get to the point where they have formal findings against you that you did X, Y, Z, and they should have just fired him. It's disgusting. But a lot of times it's the games, ladies and gentlemen. They'll do this on purpose to help the officer who commit the crime as sort of like a protecting the blue line so he can go work somewhere else in law enforcement. If you want to know the truth, that's what happens with this stuff a lot of times. When you see police get into a huge controversy or they assault somebody or something, they'll let them voluntarily resign. You see, again, in these videos that I do, you see resign, resign, resign. The officer who had the guy in a chokehold, why would that resigned for his mental health? Why was he given the opportunity to resign? He's on video choking the hell out of somebody. He gets arrested. The other person does not get arrested. There's eyewitnesses there. Just fire him.
This does not reflect the values of the fantastic men and women we have here at the Bremerton Police Department.
The video that caught the alleged act was set up by the woman running the suspected drug operation, according to police. Police didn't release her identity or the location of her home. Burchett says the video system was hidden and Engelbarger wasn't aware his actions were being caught on camera.
There's a lot of cameras that we don't know about anymore. A whole lot of them. It's amazing.
So far, no criminal charges have been filed in this case. The Bremerton Police Department has handed the investigation over to the Tacoma Police Department so they can do an independent review of it. Then the decision will be made by the Kitsap County Prosecuting Attorney's Office whether or not that detective will face criminal charges.
That's a whole lot of fidangling for me. It's like, just charge him. You don't need to get have an independent investigation from another police department. He's on video. There's nothing to investigate. Charge him. And they ended up charging him, and he pleaded guilty to theft, perjury, and forgery, because he forged documents, he forged how much cash was in there, he lied, he had to, and then when they questioned him, he committed perjury. And so perjury alone is facing up to 10 years in prison. When you lie under oath, it's like a really big deal. Then there's the theft, and then there's forgery, forging documents, right? So these are heavy sentences that could happen. And he's a law enforcement officer, somebody that has a badge, a gun, somebody that would put trust into it. So we would expect him to have at least some sort of penalty, something. He got nothing. He got no probation. He got nothing. You know why? Because he said he had a pill addiction. So they gave him a little drug treatment program. That's it. That's the end of it. Ladies and gentlemen, do you know how many people are sitting in jail right now in prison for stealing, who are hooked on all sorts of drugs? That's a new one for me. You could just be on drugs and then now, you can't go to jail. You can't get in trouble for stealing. He's on drugs. So I could go steal and commit perjury. It makes no sense to me. So if he was not on pills and he committed perjury and he stole and he committed forgery, then he goes to jail. So the magic words is, I'm on pills. So I need to go rob a bank right now. And then just after I rob the bank, then the police will arrest me and I go to court and I'll say, Your Honor, you know, they're going to be out sentencing me to like 10 years in prison. I'll be like, wait, Your Honor, one last thing. I'm on pills. And the judge is going to be like, oh, hold on, stop the case, bang, 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 stop the case. He's on pills. We got to let bro free. All right, sir, you get in no trouble because you're on pills. Obviously, it's not that exactly, but should have got something, at least some probation, because that's the bare minimum. We know it's a police officer, so he wasn't going to get any jail time. They never do. But at least some probation, an ankle monitor, something. He get nothing. Damn. Well, that's how that one ends. I tell you, stories don't have good endings, ladies and gentlemen. Justice does not be ringing when it comes to the government policing its own. But moving right on to the next video.
We have new details on a developing story that Team 10 broke on Twitter. The county has agreed to pay the family of a man with Down syndrome $1 million. Antonio Martinez was beaten, pepper sprayed, and arrested by a sheriff's deputy while walking home in Vista.
Well, Team 10 troubleshooter Kristen Severance talked to the family just today. And Kristen, you tell us they would have actually settled for less in this case.
The family told me this was never about money. They've always wanted this man, Deputy Jeffrey Guy, fired. Well, he still works for the sheriff's department, and we're still paying him. Antonio Martinez's family says once Tony starts a job, he won't stop until the entire thing is done. One of his daily jobs, cleaning the trays at the family bakery.
Oh yeah, he's very good.
That's Tony's dad and boss, Francisco.
He's very, very nice boy. I love my son.
I hope you come visit me someday, okay?
Yeah.
Another daily task for Tony, walking 3 blocks to the family business to help clean up with his sisters.
How many times a day do you come up to the bakery?
4 times.
4 times?
Yeah.
Wow.
Tony is walking that route with his attorney, Jude Basil, here. But he was alone in December 2012 when Deputy Jeffrey Guy told him to stop. Tony, who functions as a 7-year-old, kept going. The deputy pepper sprayed, hit, and arrested him, then charged him with resisting arrest. The county just settled with the family for $1 million.
I have mixed feelings.
Because what the family wanted most changes at the department. They would have settled more than a year ago if the department apologized, handed over their policy on dealing with the developmentally disabled, and had Deputy Guy volunteer with the Special Olympics.
They absolutely refused to do those things. And I made it clear up front, if they would agree to those 3 things, that the financial terms would be worked out. And frankly, it would be worked out for a couple $100,000 at best.
It's like, what do you say? I have to choose my words wisely here, because what I want to say about this deputy would absolutely get my YouTube channel terminated. This is your law enforcement in America, ladies and gentlemen. If the mentally disabled, completely vulnerable, completely helpless people with Down syndrome aren't safe, then what chance do me or you have? What chance do we have to not have this happen to us? You can clearly tell there's nothing that that boy could have done to deserve getting beat up like that. And it's like, look at those beatings and bruisings. Like, I grew up a skateboarder. I've never been beaten like this before. I've gotten in fist fights before when I was much younger as a kid, and I never had all those bruises and all that stuff. What did the deputy do to him? Look how messed up he is. He has all sorts of stuff. It's like he literally looks like he need to go to the emergency room. Just people like this going to hell in the afterlife. This is what I can say and not get my channel terminated. People like this deputy are going to hell, and in the afterlife they're going to burn and rot in eternity, and they're going to pay for all the disgusting things that they did. This deputy's mother should be ashamed of him. His mother raised a sorry, just piece of garbage, piece of trash. That's not even doing justice. This dude is the gum that I step on, the black gum that's been on the sidewalk that I step on with my shoe. That's what this deputy is. It's just total, just make you just want to spit. It's not even words in the human language to describe this deputy. This is what describes this deputy. This literally, that's that deputy.
Instead, they offered $1 million of taxpayer money. And Guy, he still works there.
This would be private industry, where an employee violates state law, violates federal law, violates company standards, and then injures a vulnerable person and costs the company $1 million, what would happen in private industry? They'd be gone. They'd be fired.
Just how much money are we paying to employ Deputy Jeffrey Guy, a deputy who pepper sprayed a man with Down syndrome during his probationary period with the department? According to the website Transparent California, the year after the Martinez incident, we paid Guy $142,000 in regular pay, overtime, and benefits. There's the $1 million settlement. And then the experts hired by the defense, a police procedures expert, psychologist, then a second, unrelated case filed against the county and that same deputy over use of force and wrongful arrest.
You want to talk about government waste, refusing to change, refusing to do what's right, and costing taxpayers millions.
I reached out to the sheriff's department, still no response.
66666. Now, I want to preface what I'm about to say with, I don't condone any violence ever. Anytime you want to regress your government, you should always do it through the proper, protesting and political channels, and, do it constructively. Violence is never the answer in a civilized society. We can't have our society work if people are going to be committing acts of violence. So don't do it under any circumstances ever. Now, with that being said, at this point in my life, when I hear on the news that a deputy got killed and somebody killed a deputy, my first gut reaction is not, oh, this deputy must have been doing some heroic, stoic act of heroism and, put himself in a line of duty to protect people. And, oh man, my first reaction is, I wonder what he did. He probably was doing something messed up to somebody, or somebody tried this nonsense that they do with somebody who was on their, their last leg, and was just somebody that didn't care, and that's still bad, and nobody should ever do violence. But I guess I say all that to say this, I just don't have the same level of sympathy, and I just don't look at police officers the way that I used to. And it's only getting worse with body cameras and the internet, and just this digital age, we're seeing more and more of this stuff, and it just seems commonplace. Again, you can't have all this and just say that it's one bad apple. There's a systemic problem. If my videos don't evidence a systemic problem, and you don't think that there's a systemic problem here, then nothing will. There's just too much of this stuff going on in law enforcement. Now, we're gonna end it on a, I guess, funny note, because this officer, he doesn't really harm nobody. He is a danger. The next video we're gonna see, he is a danger to society. I guess he didn't harm anybody yet. It's kind of funny. It's funny. I don't know. What do you think? We're gonna watch this one, and this is the last one we're gonna watch. Check this one.
This one is hard to believe, but police say a former Bridgeport police officer was arrested for DUI driving home from a DUI court case.
But that's not all. He was arrested 2 more times in the next 12 hours. News 8's Bob Wilson has been following this very bizarre story. Bob?
Yeah, one of those arrests, another DUI. That makes 2 in one day, and I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag what the next arrest for, but he posts bail in Wallingford, gets out, and is arrested again. This is former Bridgeport police officer John Bean. He was in court on Monday to face a DUI charge in Vernon. But minutes after he got out of court, police say they stopped him again for DUI on Route 83.
How do they do that? Did he drive out of court? I mean, how did they let him drive?
Bean is booked and released on bail in Vernon. Just 7 hours later, Wallingford police arrest him again for DUI. That's 2 DUI arrests on the same day he goes to court to face another DUI charge from July. But he's not done yet. After he is bailed out in Wallingford, police say they arrest him again later that night for shoplifting food and headphones at Walmart.
This is very frustrating. Yes, definitely. That some people can get away with this. Huh? What are you going to do?
Now, an off-duty South Windsor police officer was driving along Route 83 here in Vernon when he said he saw Bean's car cross over the center line and come at him head on. Take a look at 83 here. It's a very busy intersection. It happened about 1 in the afternoon. There is no room for error. Police say they were lucky to get him off the street. The fact he went out and did it again, people just can't believe it.
Somebody could have gotten killed just before the holiday, too, It's a shame.
We went to Bean's house to ask him his side of the story. As soon as we started up the driveway, he opened the front door and released 2 Rottweilers onto the front lawn.
Can we say we like this one? This is, I know drunk driving, he could kill somebody, right? He should not be drunk driving and he a criminal. But this, we like him. He kind of cool. Bro, he went to DUI, leaves the court, gets another DUI. Then after he gets arrested for that DUI, gets out of jail, gets arrested for another DUI, then goes to Walmart, gets arrested for stealing food and headphones. He wanted to go listen to his tunes. Then he goes home, news shows up, opens door, lets 2 Rottweilers run out at the news media. We could like him. I mean, drunk driving, obviously, disclaimer, is bad. You should never be drunk driving. I never drunk drive. No, seriously, though. Drunk driving is, you could kill yourself or kill somebody, and like, just don't do it. But he's like a menace from like a TV show. This is like crazier than would be like on a TV show. I shouldn't be up here liking this guy. Let's see the clip end.
News 8 did some digging and found that 10 years ago, Bean was arrested for going on a drunken shooting rampage in Bridgeport and was charged with 3 counts of attempted murder. He was later found guilty of first-degree reckless endangerment. He quit his job at the Bridgeport Police Department over that incident. Tonight, he is free on multiple bonds.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, I take back everything I just said. You know, I thought he probably was just cool and, you know, he liked to drink. Everybody got friends who like to drink. We could drink. He shouldn't be driving. Don't get behind a car. But I thought he just liked to drink. He, you know, but he got arrested 3 times in one day. There's some humor in that. And then he got arrested for stealing at Walmart. And what he stole was kind of funny. He stole some rotisserie chicken and some headphones. He wanted to go listen to some music. I'm like, okay, he be drinking. He like listen to music. He shop at Walmart. He's down there. I'm like, maybe he's cool. But then the news report is like, oh, but he also got really drunk one time and went out and was trying to shoot a bunch of people and almost kill a bunch of people in basically a mass shooting. And it's like, well, there we go. Another crooked, corrupt cop that just thinks he's above the law and he can just do whatever he wants. Sorry, everybody, for me having a little bit of faith in a law enforcement officer, thinking, you know, maybe he's a cool, chill guy. It's like, no, he tries to kill people for no reason, apparently. And how is he free? How are you free? So y'all can't get mad at me because you can't expect somebody to have done that, because how is he free? Because the law enforcement officer let you have done that. You'll be in prison. You won't be able to be out getting 3 DUIs and stealing in one day, right? And this is just the system at work, ladies and gentlemen. There's no, the DUIs apparently are the least of our concern. He might kill somebody drunk driving, but that's the least of the concern, the way he might kill somebody. He may get his gun and just go shoot up a bunch of people again. That may be the real reason why. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'll catch y'all in the next video. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe, and comment. You know, it's important to get these videos out. When you engage with the algorithm, it pushes it to more people. And we need to like stop this type of behavior. All this stuff, it's up to us to stop it. If we don't stop it, the people in power definitely are not. The state actors are definitely not going to stop it. And by getting this exposure out, like I said, like, comment, share, it gets it to more people. And just by virtue of making these videos and getting it to more people, there's people, if this video gets a bunch of views, that could be on a jury panel right now. Could be at home on YouTube. If you're on a jury panel, leave a comment. Don't leave a comment. You ain't supposed to be watching stuff like this if you're on a jury panel. But if you're on if the people be on a jury panel, they could be literally watching this video, and then tomorrow in the morning, they gotta be in court, and then there's a deputy who done something, or a sheriff that done something, and it's their job to adjudicate him guilty or not. So you help people not have these rose-colored glasses when they go into court with these crooked cops and corrupt officials, whatever jury panel you might be on. So there's that, which gives super direct, like making these videos gives an immediate, direct help to society. And you watching them and you sharing, liking, commenting. I make the video, you share, like, comment. We both do that together, and that's like a really big deal. And there's a million other things that these types of videos do to help kill the stereotypes that police are holier than thou and just wake people up. You know, these types of videos, there's some people who are watching a video like this for the first time and are like, I never put all this together, 1, 2, 3, and thought about this and that. There's so much of this going on with police around the country. I thought the police was just, you know, squeaky clean and perfect. We're awakening people. And we're also putting people in check. If you're a corrupt official watching this video, just know, like, if you're doing things you're not supposed to, your days is numbered. So we put people in check like that. If they think twice if you're a corrupt official and gonna do stuff you ain't supposed to. So there's a bunch of things that we doing together. So anyway, I will let y'all go. Thank you for watching. It's late. That's why the monkey is asleep. You're probably like, where is the monkey? I got his picture here. If you never noticed, this is the exact species. I saw this picture and this painting picture thing, and I was like, it's him. And it's like, of course I gotta get it. So you don't get the real thing. You get a picture right now. All right, y'all. I'm Ray. Monkey's Tabo. Tabo and Ray. Peace.